Imagine a box that can make your wishes come true, both good ones and bad ones. A simple, elegant interface between your brain, your consciousness, your desires, and the cosmos. Does it seem unbelievable? Do you know a man died in prison for discussing this? Do you know legal judgments have been passed against those who say it works? In the United States and abroad, offices have been raided and books have literally been burned for revealing what you will learn here. Is it good to share this knowledge? Or should this information be shrouded forever, hoarded by only a few? It's a box with simple knobs. There is an input and an output. Can this really work? Millions of people over the decades will tell you yes. It may be the holy grail of technology. It's weird in every way. A proper name eludes us, so we call it simply the wishing machine. I'm Joshua P. Warren. When I wrote the Wishing Machine Workbook, I didn't know what to expect. I mean, these are radionic printed designs, and I'd had a great deal of success using them in my life, but I wasn't sure how well they would work for other people. And you can imagine just how impressed I was after a few weeks to have received stacks and stacks of grateful letters from people claiming that the information in the Wishing Machine Workbook had improved their lives, had improved their finances, their relationships, their health. And many of the people who use this all over the world, they said, hey, we want to take the next step. We now want to use a physical wishing machine. Now, a physical wishing machine is the type that I have used personally for years and years to improve things in my own life. But it's hard to find these things. You can't just run out to Walmart and grab one, and so I wasn't sure how I could provide this. Then finally, I met a radionics technician who, as it turns out, is a master technician. And he was able to build devices that work incredibly well. So we decided to do an experiment and start making these and making them available. And so far, the results have been even better than what we got from the printed Radionics Wishing Machine Workbook. So now, for a limited period of time, we are going to make these physical wishing machines available. So let me try to explain to you sort of how these things work. We don't know exactly why they work, but I'll tell you how they work. When you buy a physical wishing machine from us, you'll get a box that looks like this. Now, this is just a wooden box. It has 9 knobs. It has no battery. It doesn't plug into the wall. This is not powered by traditional electricity. This is a mind-powered machine. It's designed with a very special circuit inside to take your intent, to tune it for a particular wish or desire, and to transmit it. We don't know, again, exactly how this works. But for over 100 years, people have been using it and claiming great success. Here is essentially how one of these boxes is employed. Here we have a metal input plate. And here we have an output plate, also known as a stick plate. So the first thing we want to do is put something on the input plate to represent what you want to affect. Because radionics is based on the idea that everything in the universe, every concept, every combination of circumstances has its own sort of frequency, what we call a rate. So you want to first find the rate for what you want to deal with. So let's say, for example, we have a guy named Joe. And Joe has lost his job and he doesn't have any money. The first thing we want to do is represent the concept of Joe without money. Now, you can do that in many different ways. It's similar to creating a specimen for some type of a voodoo experiment. In fact, a lot of people call this techno-shamanism. But here's one way you could represent it. If we have this piece of paper, we can write on it, Joe without money. And maybe Joe even signs his name. And then we might even take one of Joe's hairs and tape that onto it. You could put a picture of Joe. There are lots of different things that you could do to represent Joe. But this is the concept of Joe without money. So we're going to take this sample, this specimen, and we're going to put it on the input plate. Now the next thing we have to do is find the frequency for Joe without money. Here's where the knobs come into play. While we have this on the input plate, you would then gradually turn the first knob. The knob can go from 0 to 10. As you turn the knob, you stroke the output plate or the stick plate. Now it's a plastic surface and it feels rather smooth. But as you turn this knob, there will come a point when something weird happens. All of a sudden, this smooth surface will feel sticky, like it grabs your finger. That's why we call it a stick plate. When you get that sensation, that is the subjective feedback that indicates that you have reached the right frequency or the right number for this knob. So let's say that happened on this knob when we got to the number 2. So now we move to the next knob and we do the same thing. We turn it clockwise while stroking the stick plate, and let's say it sticks at the number 4. Let's say we do the same thing with the third knob, and this time it sticks at the number 6, right? And so on. You would do this with each one of the knobs until you have a 9-digit number that begins 2, 4, 6, etc., etc. This 9-digit number is the rate for Joe without money. You now have the frequency, you have something you can work with numerically. But what we want, however, is the opposite of that. We want the frequency of Joe with money. So what we do is reset the knobs now to the inverse. So what that means is this first knob was set at 2. That's where we got the stick. Now we know the maximum number here is a 10. So let's say 10 minus 2, that's 8. So now we're going to reset this knob to 8. And now this particular knob, the second one, it's stopped at 4. What's 10 minus 4? 6, right? So we want to set that one to 6. And then the next one, it stopped at 6. What's 10 minus 6? It's 4, etc. So you would continue repeating this with each one of the knobs here until you have reset the knob to its inverse position. And then you're done. That's it. You simply take the box with the specimen on it and you put it away in a nice, quiet, peaceful place. And ideally, what you desire will come true. That's how the wishing machine works. I wouldn't even be here offering these to you if I didn't know that it worked from my own personal experience and if I didn't have testimonies from all over the world to that effect. But what makes this even better is that when you get the wishing machine, the actual technician who builds your machine, handmade, custom made in the United States, will contact you. And he will have a conversation with you about the particular reason you want to use the machine. Now granted, the machine can be used over and over again for different purposes. But if you have a very specific purpose in mind, he will help you with that specific purpose. So you're going to have guidance as you go through the process. It won't be nearly as complex as it may seem. The next thing to remember is that obviously you can't make anything happen with these. There are some natural laws and limitations. If you want to fly like Superman, for example, that's probably not going to happen. But if you want to do something that is within the confines of the natural laws, then this will at very least accelerate that process. It's kind of like if you decide to go on a trip and visit a particular city. Let's say you want to go to Knoxville, Tennessee. Well, you can get in your car and just start driving and maybe eventually you'll find it. Or I could give you a map and then you would find it in a much faster, more efficient way. I think that these devices, by some means not fully understood, are like a map for your thoughts and for your intentions. It allows you to take your wishes, whatever they may be, and focus them on a particular goal and get there faster. So we're doing this experiment for a very limited time, making these physical wishing machines available to you. I hope that you'll buy one. I hope that you will help us with this experiment. I think that your feedback will be fascinating, and I think this will be a fantastic introduction for you into the vast and wonderful world of radionics. And I wish you good luck.